ba ba bum ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum bum ba 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 bum bum ba 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 bum ba 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 bum bum ba 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 bum Simoni
Hello, welcome back. We've left Port Elizabeth and now we've traveled to Grahamstown, South Africa for the National Arts Festival. Here we are visiting artists in their exhibition around the city, and there's so many wonderful artists. We're going to take you inside so you can see for yourself. Enjoy. Now we're inside, visiting with one of the artists. And as we turn the corner, we notice his work, and it is phenomenal.
Well, I'm a guy, or I would say, a person who grew up from rural areas. And according to my work, I will just to highlight or just everyone to know that I didn't grow up like being able to go to an art school. As in rural areas, we sometimes had challenges of not being able to afford to go out and study in town, whether or to go to the art schools. So I didn't manage as I was willing to go to art school. So I just studied this in university.
So what university do you attend?
Mentioning the first one, but the first one I went to was Victoria University in 2004. I started 2004 after passing my matric in 2002. So I didn't apply for going to school. Then I managed to apply and get started to school in 2004.
And where are you now?
I'm in Mthatha University. After I dropped out in 2006 in Victoria, and I went back in 2010 to finish my diploma, and I joined Mthatha University in East London.
Excellent. Well, it's obvious that your work has, come out of you personally, but also your training has given you something beautiful here. Tell us a little bit about the mediums that you're using to create this.
The medium I'm using in here, I just worked with. It's supposed to be a drawing. This one, I would say it's a drawing, but the mixed media. I use in here the pencil and ink. And this one, this three-dimensional piece that I'm using to create this piece with that three-dimensionalness is called. I just need to forget this name. There's this thing that they use to put in the boxes of, let's say, a TV, that so that it doesn't break.
Styrofoam?
Yeah, that way thing.
Wow.
That's styrofoam.
That's what I use to create these figures with.
And it looks like a much harder surface, but it's really soft. There's a,
Yes.
Something that...
No, I came up with this idea because I didn't want to use something that would be heavy on this work.
Excellent.
Yes.
I like the way you blend the mediums. So give me a little bit more information about why do you create the works that you do? Tell me, why do you create these images?
With these pieces that you are seeing here, as we are working another program at school, so a student had to have his own theme. So my theme in here was about children playing.
Children playing. Is this
Playing.
any particular location? Have you seen these before? Is this something in your imagination?
I've seen this. Actually, it came out as a personal experience. Because I even say to my team, this one is how I played. So this is the kind of games that I played that I've just did in these drawings.
And what do you find them doing here?
With this one, it's like a scene whereby the child will be inside and his or is not allowed to go out to the street to join the other kids to play. So he's just climbing over the gate in order to join the others. I would say maybe the parents were not there, so it's just to sneak out. It's there to sneak out to go to the.
Ah, being a little mischievous. Now the medium here, what are you using to create?
Down in here, I've used newspapers.
Newspapers.
Yes, newspapers.
Very interesting. And netting here,
Most of these are just found objects.
found
Yeah,
objects.
found objects, yes.
This is amazing. I really love how you captured then the slant on the gate and the kids on the other side.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. If you see this, I was trying to get that vanishing point in order to get the perspective right, yes.
Welcome to Grahamstown. This is Guichard, and I am here with a phenomenal young artist, Matthias, or Matt, as they call you. Well, thank you for having us and sharing this wonderful exhibit. Could you tell us about the body of work you have on exhibit here today, starting to your right?
Of work which is here mainly looks at the ancestral spirits, which is the extended family, which goes beyond the physical. So extending into that realm of the unknown, the unfamiliar. So what I did here is I tried to put through feelings which come through from the upbringing which we had, being able to attend a lot of traditional ceremonies, also a lot of activities where the ancestors themselves actually come through, especially when they come through your own mother, the mermaid, which we call Jesus, and speaks through your own mother, your own sister, your grandma died a few years ago. You were so sad that she died, but then she comes through after 5 years and then speaks to you. And that is very interesting, actually hearing your own grandma, and they tell you they've been watching you, and they see everything. So it is something which just blows you away, and you become so interested to know that all your family members whom you thought had died and were gone forever are actually still there, and they still watch and see everything that you do today.
Wow. So is that represented here in this work as well? That
Yes,
synopsis?
yeah, so that everything all together is represented in here. Mainly this also looks at water spirits which live in the water. So taking a bit of form of the mermaid, and also the spirits which cannot really be identified but still exist in there. So just trying to bring the viewer to see what exactly is within that landscape, but at the same time also disappears into the distance.
Tell us about this beautiful
Death of the Mermaid. This is Death of the Mermaid 2. It's a series of 4 works. I'm still working on the other 2. They mainly look at what has caused the death of these mermaids, the Njuzu. They mainly live in the natural environment, the natural resources in water, which here you're talking about rivers, dams, and the seas. So you find at the end you get people changing natural rivers and make their own man-made rivers. So that also causes death of other ancestral spirits which live within the landscape.
if you look at all the spirits, from this one to the second one, they live within this natural landscape. The trees, the water, everything. So you find people actually pollute these landscapes and lead to their death. So these spirits are also mourning. They're very sad. They're angry at the same time, and they don't know what the future holds, and they don't know what to do. So we also have spirits of the female lions, a lot of them. Some of them you can't really tell, but you feel their existing presence. So they're very angry. They're still mourning, and you find people blaming each other as to who caused the death of the mermaid. So you find the people are blaming the government is blaming the people, that they're the ones responsible, and no one wants to take responsibility in between the two. So this also teaches people to actually play their part, do the best they can to try and preserve the importance of the natural environment. So this is what I try to bring out and share with other people, and it's up to them.
So the more I look at it, that almost looks like an animal.
Yes.
Wow.
So because they reside in the
Dog there.
yeah, they reside in the animals, I mean, there's so much of a huge link between people and animals and spirits. It's just a fine line, but the problem is over the years, hundreds of years, and actually the last 100 years, people have been moving away, and we're finding that is getting lost, and we're heading in the wrong direction. You look at all these stories, you go back long ago, you find whether in Africa, Europe, America, there is a huge link when you look at the stories of mermaids being seen. Some have been seen in different ways, but it's the same. It's a woman who's half fish and half human who actually existed, and the lucky few have been able to see them. But the unfortunate thing is you find people go into the sea or go into the lakes and they actually shoot the mermaid. For what reason? It lives there, but one is not supposed to kill a mermaid. Why shoot something which lives there? You're the one who's not supposed to be in there, and yet it has done no harm to you. So you find the natural spirits can react in unfortunate ways. Of course, they live in the natural, so they can use the natural environment as their weapon to react against what people have been doing. That's why you also find them against technology. There is that resistance between the ancestral spirits and technology because of the end, how it ends up being used, not for the benefit of all, but only for the benefit of a few individuals, not for also animals. You look at, we carry on developing everything, where the animal is going to end up living. What are we going to do? So there won't be any more animals, and only after 100, 200 years from now, then we realize, we should have been clever. And people from those generations will just realize we were just complete idiots, at this time and day of age. Yeah.
So a lot of the natural disasters that you're seeing now.
So it can possibly, it is on the rise, and the question is, where is it coming from? But the problem is our governments think they can actually solve everything, they can control and run everything, but we forget that government is a byproduct of the people, and as such, we can't expect that it will be able to manage everything. There is need for people to actually manage. There is need for them to also realize the responsibility of the ancestral spirits, those who reside. You look at it, it's so vast. You look how it was done long ago. There's such a huge diversity and a link in between the spirits. From Africa, Europe, Asia. You look at those olden times, how they used to do things. Very similar. They had a huge link to the natural environment. And that is what we've lost. And I think there is need to remind people and for them to try and play a part.
So come on, let's take a quick spin and just maybe point at the ones that are about that same series.
On that one.
that.
Mainly that one, and that is the before the death of the mermaid, how it sees myself in its world, and this is the first one where actually the house of the mermaid is right there, and the spirits are grieving. They're also very angry on here, and here actually you then see how I tried to work on that, how the mermaid has come to die, and it's also very sad. And most of the spirits are also very sad, looking to the sides. One is grieving, very angry, not knowing what to do. They look into the distance and this is the family gardens within families. Those spirits which look after their own, their descendants. So you find, if you look closely, that's why I put out the link between the spirits and the natural environment. Look like stones, yet you try and look again, it looks something else. So it evolves every time you look at the work. You always see something different.
Well, all I can say is I know there's one other body of work that you have that isn't here. We are going to visit, but before you tell me about that one, if you could just tell me about this one here.
Yes, this one is out of the forgotten ancestors of the land. This one focuses on the original founders of these lands that we now live in. They've been forgotten. We've left them behind, and they're not happy. They're sad, and these are also linked to the mermaids, to the water spirits. I mean, they might have died physically, but to this present day, they still are alive because they come through and speak through people. As a medium, they can. It's amazing that you find an ancestor who died 400 years ago comes and still speaks through another person, and actually tells you, "I'm watching and I see everything," and they can tell you detail to detail of what one has been doing. So it's very surprising, and one can get a shock that actually these family spirits do see everything. And there is what we call spirit provinces. Like you have Western Cape, Eastern Cape, but they exist in the spiritual world realm, whereby you have other spirits, but they answer to one spirit which is responsible for the whole entire region. So also linked to the innocence of the Virgin Mary, you have a lot of cultures which come through together, they merge over time, but also the problem is that we don't acknowledge where it came from, where it originated from. So the Virgin Mary is also linked to the mermaid, how it's been reconstructed over time. The mixture of also the cultures, but originally it's linked to the mermaid, but it's taken that place of the mermaid over the Western culture.
Well, in closing, I know we're going to visit one other
Yes.
amazing piece, and if you could just briefly tell me
Yes.
what those detailed pieces really embody and what those are about.
Mainly the memo looks at those sacred spaces, given the space where one can actually see and identify the physical space, but yet there is the presence of the spirits within that physical landscape which you can identify. So it brings about the silent voice which exists across the landscape. So that is one of the things we try and put through those sacred spaces. So you find a lot of the other work, and the other one, Untitled One, it's also another one which just gives you the urge, you feel the energy, the presence, but yet still you can't touch that feeling, that spirit force behind the physical landscape.
What a treat. Matt, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
We look forward to sharing your creativity with the rest of the world. And our friends back at home.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to contribute.
Welcome back. This is Andre Guichard, still in Grahamstown with a very, very important ceramic sculptor who you will learn quite a bit about during this interview. But I'd like to introduce you to Mthatha.
Yes.
And can you speak in terms of pronounce your full name, and then tell us a little bit about the journey you've been on as an artist, the mediums you work in, the inspiration, etc.
Yeah, my name is, you have said, I'm Mishek Masugu. I'm born and bred in Swaziland. I'm part of the royal family. My mom was a princess. And I actually became a ceramist by, you would say, I wasn't destined, but I was destined by nature. I grew up back home in Swaziland, heading my grandfather, Prince Makwela's cattle. And there was a lot of cattle at home, so school was not part of the everyday life at home. So I grew up and herding cattle. I always played with clay and made animals, especially cattle, because cattle is a very, very profound significant to all of us African people, if I must say, simply because we believe in the Lobola culture. And the Lobola is there to actually exchange the right from the father to have a right to have the children called by his family. If you do not pay Lobola, your children are belonging to your wife's family. And for us, therefore, to take our rightful place, to belong to our father's part of the name, our fathers have got to pay. If they don't pay, we don't belong. And so, therefore, the cattle that I use on my work, I got a job as a cleaner and as well as a small animals maker. So the reason why I got a job in a ceramic studio was because I could make little clay oxens. And then I would clean, prepare the clay, and then make these oxens. And then during spare time, lunchtime, after work, I would then train myself on the pot as well. I actually took 2 years to train myself behind closed doors. My employer didn't even know that I was learning. The day when he saw, I just threw a lot of things and I left them overnight. And when he came in the morning, he couldn't understand who had done them, and there I was. My pots are 100% handmade. I make my own clay. I make my own glazes. So if one wants a restaurant set up, I've got a seat throwing, because every plate I throw, every cup I throw, everything I throw, no molds.
No more.
No. And the clay I have to get in the mine and micronize myself and process myself and mix and get the right mixture myself. And my glaze is the same way. I buy just raw materials and I formulate my own recipes. Yeah, it's hard work. Thank you very much.
Keep doing what you're doing. So, somewhat similar to African antique art that was ritualistic, your art is more for functional use every day, but bringing art in the space.
Yes, it is functional for use. It's still lots of the ritual, because the cattle are such a sacred and a ritual phenomenon.
So Misha, tell me a little bit about this style and some of the different styles of ceramics that people might see either at this exhibit or other exhibits or work that comes out of your studio.
We have got different styles. I follow very much the Zen philosophy. As you can see, my shapes, I'm a maker of vessels, more functional work. I do a lot of sculptural work, but I work with the earth. It inspires me.
Welcome back. This is Andre Guichard, and we are on the streets of Grahamstown, walking the fair, and have stumbled across a truly genius and creative talent. This is Francis. Francis, can you tell us your full name?
I'm Francis Sibanda. I'm from Port Elizabeth. I was born in Zimbabwe and I grew up in Joburg and now I'm living in Port Elizabeth.
Fabulous. Tell us about this great idea with using the tubes of paint as part of your subject.
In your collage type painting where you're showcasing the people of Africa. Tell us about it. What was your inspiration for that creativity? Yeah, my inspiration I was working for an exhibition in Port Elizabeth, a solo exhibition. And when I was working, I was tired. I got dizzy, and the paint was all over in my studio. And the next thing I opened my eyes, I saw the tubes keep moving and all that. That's where the idea came from. And from there, I started to play around with it, and I get more better.
I really love it because it really has life to it. And I see there's some sand in there.
Yeah.
And the actual paint tubes, but then the backdrop of what looks like the township.
The township,
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. And you do larger subjects
I do
also?
larger subjects, yes.
Okay.
I go bigger,
Excellent.
2 meters and a half. More than that as well.
Fabulous. And this is on wood. What medium are you using with that?
I use oils.
Oils on wood. Excellent.
Oil on board.
Oil on board. And then is that oil on
canvas. Yes.
Nice, nice. Well, I just want to say I really love creativity and I love how creative ideas come about. And we look forward to sharing your creativity with our collectors and the people in America and Chicago. And I want to thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right. Okay, Francis. Good luck with the rest of the fair.
Yeah,
and
sure.
we appreciate you taking the time with us.
Yeah, we'll speak soon.
All righty. Take care.